It's all about that
What is up, guys? It is Adam, aka Marf, and this is Marfoogle News, the only live call-in show somewhere. We might be on DLive, YouTube, no matter where we are, we're going to be spitting some news tonight, so be ready. We have Prepper Nurse 1 on standby. He's going to come in and answering some questions that are taken on your phone calls. So if you would like to call in, of course, the number is 224400-MARF. And unlike other shows, the phone lines are going to be open right away. Of course, if you missed that number, it is right down below, and Marf is 6273 if you don't have a touchtone phone with a ABCDEF. We'll be right back in just a second. Alright, what is up, guys? It's Adam, aka Marf, and this is Marfoogle News. If you've never been here before, this is a live call-in show. We go over all of the hottest topics of the news and the world, and then we take your calls on them. If you've never been here again, we're actually on YouTube as well, and we are also having our own platform built as well. So make sure to check us out. We have 150,000 subscribers on Marfoogle News on YouTube, 106,000 on Marfoogle TV, and then, of course, on DLive, we're closing in on 10,000. So thank you guys. Of course, this is being captured live on DLive, and then it will be premiered onto YouTube. So I want to thank my guest tonight. I'm going to pull him in a second. I also have Dex here. Dex can actually... he has a whole screen to my left dedicated to the callers. So he screens the calls, and if you guys have pictures you've taken of the sky, of, you know, movement of military, any kind of crazy things, you can actually give those to Dex, and then therefore Dex can give them to me so I can show it to the rest of the Foogle family. I also want to quickly say thank you to the people that joined me over in Gamer Fero's stream earlier. I tweeted, obviously, the thing about him is he's... had a lot of people either negatively troll him or positively troll him that aren't even real. So, you know, he's a unique person here on the DLive community. But I just want to thank all of you guys for coming over and showing the Foogle love. No matter what, we're all equal, or at least we should be. So that was really awesome. On top of that, we're going to talk about this graph right here. This is not something out of a movie. This is a real graph of the reported cases of the CV, as we like to call it, and that is yesterday's 14,000 reported cases jump. This is huge. Okay, this is exactly what we were saying. This is what regular Joes were saying. I love how the day before, too, was like almost nothing. Like, oh, it's going down. No. In fact, I believe some numbers are coming out now through mainstream even that basically tell us that it was completely and utterly held back. And that's something I can say because we are going by official information right now. And officially, it looks like some numbers were held back. Again, if you're reviewing this video because it's been hit for some reason, we don't swear. We haven't done anything. We're not putting out fake news. In fact, we are one of the few shows that backs up every single thing we say with an article on our website. And speaking of our website, the article today, this page, which you can actually follow along with, is all about what we're talking about, and it has all of the links. This is our own writing so you can actually go down and see everything that's here, including the graphs of the all of a sudden big thing. It has prepper nurses information, his videos. He, of course, is straight up off-grid. This gentleman lives completely off-grid and even does YouTube off-grid. He's got an awesome setup. He and his kids have. In fact, he's a single father, amazing guy. He's got a big heart, but he also spends a lot of his time teaching others what to do in certain situations and talking about things that normal people don't talk about. Obviously, some of his subjects include, like, what would you do in an urban environment if, SHTF? So things like that. He actually goes through and talks about the theories of them. He, of course, has a medical background as well, so he can be asked medical questions as well. If your kid breaks his arm and there's no hospitals around, if nothing is running, what would you do? That kind of thing. So Prepper Nurse 1, I'm going to pull you in. He's Ed, aka Prepper Nurse 1. Let's pull you in here and do a sound check real quick.
All right. Well, thank you for having me on. I appreciate you having me on your show. And thank you for the kind words there that you said in the beginning. I appreciate that.
Now, I just want to, real quick before we start, and we also have Dex on here too. So, Dex, can we just make sure that you're good here too?
Hello, Adam. I am here, and hello, Foogle fam.
All right, cool. So,
hello, Ed.
We've got the whole party
Dex,
here.
how we doing?
We are actually an hour late, and that is because we had supreme issues trying to get video of Ed. So instead, we're going to have Ed in the background, his channel and a couple of his videos playing, so you guys get to know who Ed is. Again, that was if some of you techies out there know why I was trying to do a window capture and it was white for Zoom and Skype, please let us know. We tried everything, and we're very technically knowledgeable, so it was confusing. It never had that problem before, so I don't get it. Okay. Either way, let's get started. So, Ed, did you see yesterday this huge spike as far as the graph that just came out?
Yes, I did. It was of the reported cases, yes. Not a surprise at all, to be honest with you. I know that they had changed the way that they're reporting cases now. So that was their reasoning for the jump up in reported cases.
So it's no reason to panic, right? Because they say they've completely changed how they've reported it, right? Is that what people should say? Well,
that's what they're saying. My like I said, and I'll tell you, I'll go from facts to opinions. My opinion is that this, from the very beginning, has been grossly underreported of what is actually going on over in China. I think that the number of cases that are in the United States right now are being underreported. I think that, with the different preparations that they're doing, and they're finally taking action, and, the World Health Organization and all the CDC, they're trying to control the narrative. And that's my opinion. Like I said, they're saying that there's XYZ number of cases, but when videos coming out, and when they're having audio coming out, when somebody pretended to be a government official talking to one of the funeral homes, and they're can't keep up with trying to burn these bodies, that gives you a lot more insight of what's really going on.
And as far as the smoke that was coming out of that city, of course, a lot of these words are now filtered words on other platforms. The smog was apparently from the burning of those the deceased. Now, do you believe that those were running 24/7, or what's your opinion on that?
My opinion is that they're definitely running 24/7. When they can take the readings in, like from space, and they were showing that how there's a lot of more organic material being burned, aka human bodies. And it's just, it's kind of frightening if you think about it. And, like I said, and it's always funny because I love when people will say, oh, well, that's the communist government over there. They're going to try to control everything. And I always laugh when I hear that, because The United States government, the government in Canada, the government in the UK, the government in Australia do the exact same thing. So I like when they try to blame it on the communist government, but every government in the world is going to try to control the narrative the way that they want to control
it. And again, some say that we are controlling the flow of information as well, because if you go outside of the United States, you'll actually see that other countries, including some of the smaller ones with award-winning independent journalists, they say that it is actually possibly, and I've got to say this because we'll get hit, 20 to 30 times worse than what they are even adding to this report. So instead of the 14,000, they're saying it could be, basically they're saying like 1 to 1.4 million in China actually have this, not passed away or anything, not deceased, but actually have contracted the virus. And they say that that was their reasoning behind actually quarantining 60 million people. Do you think it's normal that they've done this quarantine of 60 million people? Is this something that has happened before? Is this something that's just completely normal?
Absolutely not. If you look at it statistically, when they first did the quarantine, it was 50 million people to start with, and I know it's up to, well, supposedly up to 60 million now. And I'm going to give a different source in a minute that gave some information that just came out recently. But where the number of cases in the beginning, when they put the quarantine in place, made absolutely no sense according to what the numbers would be. Even for the city of Wuhan itself, you don't put that many people in quarantine for that small of an outbreak. So obviously information is not being given accurately, because you don't put that many people into quarantine and stop them from working and producing and living their lives if it's not much more serious than it is. And again, if you look in the history of recorded mankind, you've never seen anything like this before, ever.
And like I've said, modern civilization has never seen this many people actually kept inside their homes. They're literally not allowed to leave. And then, of course, Ed, you've seen the videos of the people kind of chanting, saying Jayu from their windows. I mean, these are how China is in a lot of the cities. It's very, very high skyscrapers. People are stacked on top of each other, and the only way to live affordably is to live in, something like that. Unless you have one of the higher ranking jobs, unless you're possibly with the government, or if you're with one of the big corporations, you are living in one of those high-rise stack kind of apartments. Now, these people are literally being trapped in there. Do you think that is, how do you think that they're handling that? Because some people say that they're not, what if they didn't have food before they did that?
Well, and that's the thing that you got to think about. And I talked about this a little bit on my channel logistically, and we'll just talk about Wuhan. Let's talk about Wuhan with a population of 11.5 million people. And how do you feed that many people that you have quarantined? So just logistically trying to manage that alone, not even talking about the 60 million people that are now under quarantine, but just that city alone. And, well, here's the other thing. Think about garbage. And I mean, how are they getting the garbage out of there? If there's this quarantine, how is the garbage being gotten rid of on a daily basis? And and here's the other thing I think a lot of people aren't even thinking about at this point. The everyday people that get sick on a daily basis in a normal day, stroke, heart attack, have to have emergency surgery. What's happening with all those people as well? So those are things that I don't think people are taking into consideration at all. Or how are people getting their medications that need to have life-saving medications? How are they getting those as well? That's something to think about as well.
Now, that's a super great point as far as like garbage. And say if there was any issues, say the plumbing wasn't working or something, say in a day-to-day basis in a huge, I mean, you're talking skyscrapers and they're all residential. what if somebody had, say, plumbing issues? They're not going to be able to get plumbers out there. Then all of a sudden you have a sanitary issue where they can't use a restroom. Or what if the water freezes up or turns off or whatever? It's like, these kind of things, I don't even understand that, nobody is seeing that people are tweeting saying, hey, this is happening, and nobody's coming to fix it. I mean, obviously they can't call a company. The company's sitting there quarantined too. So It's like people could actually be passing away because of simple things or lack of water or this and that, when we've actually seen, tweets go out and saying, like, I don't have food and water and I need some. That's just kind of crazy. I think that we're going to look back and see that this was not handled at all correctly.
Well, according to I don't know if you've heard the audio, one of the videos that was put up where the person pretended to be a government official and was talking to the person at the funeral home, and the person said that 60% of the bodies that were coming in from homes, not from the hospitals. And that's information that's out there, so I'm not making that up, but it's so you think about the number of people that are dying in their homes, and then are they being counted on the number of people with the coronavirus or not? You just really don't know. So again, there's where the underreporting is coming in, but you're having people passing away in their homes because they're not able to get to the hospitals, or they go to the hospitals and they're sent back home because there's no room in the hospitals.
Now, something that just came out 49 minutes ago. Oh, wow. Wait a second. So it says the CV cases spike as China sacks senior officials. So these guys that were basically hiding the numbers and can't really hide them anymore, it says that because of these guys that they're finding out all this new stuff, it says new infections there jumped by more than 14,000. It says, what is this about? The spike in numbers is partly due to a broader definition of what constitutes a confirmed case, to include people diagnosed on the basis of their symptoms rather than testing positive. So obviously there was all these sick people, and they were waiting to physically test them with test kits that ran out. I mean, they didn't have the test kits to actually give people. They had like 12 per. At the beginning, they said 12 per hospital, and it's like, of course there's only going to be 12 positives, and then all of a sudden they're saying, oh, nope, only 12 people are sick. People had to get some sort of certificate to even see the doctor in some cases. Did you hear about that?
I did hear about that. I saw the different videos on that as well, and the one gentleman that was reporting on that over there and saying how truly bad things were in the hospitals, he's disappeared now. So he's been taken into custody is the assumption, but he is not reporting anymore at all. And he was the one coming out and saying, look, this is really, really bad. That they had to get permission. And if they didn't have the permission and the certificate to even go to the hospital, they were being turned away. So that's that. If you think about that alone, could you imagine something like that happening here in the United States?
A lot of it's a hoax.
Mike Bloomberg knows.
Sorry about that, Ed.
Understands the challenge.
Oh, not a problem.
Now you go ahead. It was that website had some sort of pop-up.
No, that's fine. Not a problem. But no, like I just, the thing is that, could you imagine something like that here, having to get permission in the United States to go to the doctors? People would revolt. They would absolutely revolt.
It'd be a revolution.
It would be crazy.
As far as, all the new stuff now, okay, so I have been publicly, I guess, poked at because I said that I don't like the theory of, because mainstream is covering this, that it's got to be fake or it's got to be hoax because it's being covered by mainstream. I don't think people put together that the whole beginning of this, the first 3 weeks of when it was getting really bad, they were not covering it. They were covering impeachment. They were covering everything else. And it just kept coming back, and it kept jumping over the hurdles of the things kind of holding it back. And it was too big to kind of contain because the internet is what happened. And then get this, the internet, YouTube and other platforms teamed up with the World Health Organization directly to actually go in, and a bunch of people got warnings, especially other channels I know with managers. They basically, it went down the line saying anything with CV, anything with Wuhan, anything with that in the title tags, get rid of it. You run a risk of basically being deleted, or the videos being deleted, or anything. And that is because they were deciding what was, I guess, misinfo, which again, if you're reviewing this video for any kind of reasons, just know that we are showing the official numbers and we are showing everything that is accepted. Again, we're going to be doing another show on this where we're going to go raw on all of this tomorrow. Friday is going to be a big show, so make sure to be there. Today, we have Prepper Nerds talking about the official numbers, and as far as basically, it doesn't matter what the numbers are. I think Prepper Nurse one here, I think you would be a good one to say, what can we do to protect ourselves? I mean, obviously, we can't walk around in a bubble. What do you think that would be a good idea?
Well, like I said, and I've been telling my subscribers on my channel, to be afraid is very healthy. There's nothing wrong with being afraid as long as you direct that energy in a positive way. And so what do I mean by that? I'd really encourage my followers on my channel to prepare to shelter in place because there's so many unknowns of what is going on, the numbers being given what they are, but the reaction by the different governments. I mean, when you have Russia seal their entire border with China, they're not doing that for no reason. And, so everything that's going on, what I'm telling my subscribers is, to prepare to shelter in place. So I've encouraged them to get out there, because here's what I want people to think about. Anybody on your channel that's listening to this, when things continue to get worse, which I personally believe that they will, you're going to have everybody and their brother running all at once to get as many supplies as they possibly can. So I talked today about our window of opportunity closing. The time to get out and get stuff was actually last week, but there still is time because a lot of people are not paying attention to it hardcore yet. But as things continue to progress and as the numbers continue to rise, the official numbers, I should say, of course, you're going to see more and more people getting to stores, buying up supplies. So if you can get to the stores now, get your mask, get your N95 mask, get your N100 mask. If you can get your hands on a gas mask, I would highly recommend that you do that. Get gloves, get eye protection. Also, make sure you're getting loaded up on food and water to prepare to shelter in place. 6 mil plastic if you have to make a quarantine area. If somebody is sick, you want to put them aside from everybody else in the house. You don't want to try to, you don't want that to spread to everybody else. So those are things that I would absolutely recommend. Just try to get as ready as you possibly can, because we don't want to be in the same situation as the people in China are in right now, where they're forced to shelter in place and have no supplies ahead of time. And I'm a big believer, I encourage people to help themselves, because we just don't know. There's way too many unknowns. And the thing is, with this, with what's going on, if you're getting prepared, okay, and this is what I tell my subscribers as well, if you're getting prepared and this turns out to be a big nothing burger, it's still a win-win, because you're getting ready. If something comes of this, then you're ready. If this blows over, there's always going to be something else down the road that could happen, and you already have those supplies in place. And that, to me, that's a win-win.
Ed, you know exactly, you follow this stuff as well. Again, Ed has a large following on YouTube. He's got a huge community underneath him of preppers. Again, this is something that I believe you know about. They are drilling all over the United States of America for intended attacks of a certain type. This is something that has been drilled several times over. What the new one was, over the last 6 months, we've seen several actual U.S. military men arrested for basically conspiracy to do this kind of stuff. And what it is they're looking for a vehicle to ram into something, go boom, and spread chemicals all over the place. Now, that sounds very specific, and it is. And multiple things are around there, and they're basically looking for this in all the different states. So what does that say? That means that there's a very specific thing out there that they're kind of preparing for. And whatever is released is obviously not going to be something that, they care about, is legal to use. Now, the things that are used in other countries like white phosphorus and things like that, or sarin gas or mustard gas or things like that. You following that just proves exactly, like, for this, if you get full masks and things like that, don't you think that would help later down the road, having all this stuff?
Absolutely. Like I said, if you are getting supplies now and getting things in place and getting ready, and let's say, like I said, this blows over, okay, and this turns out to be a big nothing burger, well, which I don't believe that it will. That's my opinion, okay? But if it does, then you are prepared for the next thing that comes, and the best part of that would be that you have more time to prepare. So again, it's like, people that think that preppers are crazy and, that we're out of our minds and why would you do that? And my thought to people is, prepping is a form of insurance like anything else. You have car insurance, you have house insurance, you have life insurance. Why? Just in case. Prepping is the same premise, but you're preparing to protect your family, yourself. And here's the thing too, I wanted to put this out there really, really quickly for people that, think, oh, it's all about gloom and doom. SHTF doesn't have to be a countywide, statewide, citywide, or a countrywide event. An SHTF event could be something that affects you directly, your family. The breadwinner gets sick, hurt, or dies. And what do you do then? And so in that case, because you're prepared, you have a backup to get you through until things get better. And that's why we prep.
And as far as what is going on, now, do you think, do you think that this is just another, SARS or MERS or bird flu or swine flu? Do you think this is the same as all of those other ones?
No, I do not. Number one, the information that's coming out says no, but the reaction of the world's governments definitely indicates. Have you ever seen the governments lock down cities, lock down borders, stop flights from coming in and out of countries because of the flu or because of, it's flu season? Never. You've never seen that before.
Or serve people with robots. That's pretty nuts.
Or you have you've seen the video of the drones telling people to get back in their houses and get out of the streets. You've never seen that before.
Or concrete up tunnels. They actually literally built concrete walls around the city borders. This is like something out of a WB show movie, like one of those shows where all the parents die and the teenagers are in this city and they can't go beyond the city. This is out of a movie. These people are dealing with this in real life. They cannot leave the city, let alone they can't leave their door. Imagine what these people are doing. 60 million people. 6 times New York City over and over. Everyone in New York City times 6, all sitting inside their home, not allowed to leave. And I guarantee you, out of 60 million people, think about this, Ed. You've got nearly 100,000 people watching you. And of course, if you got 100,000 people, you're going to have a couple dissenters. You're going to have a couple trolls. You're going to have at least 100. It's like a numbers thing, like 100, 200, 300 people that just absolutely hate you. Think about 60 million people held against their will. And most of them, right, a lot of them are going to go with it and say, yeah, this is best for us. Imagine what they've dealt with, and imagine the videos we've seen of the people trying to escape, the people that are fighting this tooth and nail. Imagine what is happening right now.
It's got to be horrible. And to put it into perspective, too, 60 million people is more people than on the entire West Coast. So, trying to lock down, think about locking down, Seattle, all of California,
all of Oregon,
Washington State, Oregon, all up through that whole area, trying to lock down that entire area. I mean, it's got to be logistically impossible. And I've seen the videos where they basically dug up the roads, put barricades up. Like you said, they bricked up tunnels to keep people in. And again, if there's a will, there's a way. You're going to get some people are going to get out. And again, are they getting out? Are they infected? And now they're spreading it to other places. I mean, and you got to remember too, what a lot of people are not talking about anymore. You just had the Chinese New Year just happen. So you had tremendous amounts of people traveling all throughout China. And a lot of them, to visit family and friends. And that's why a lot of the people that came back here to the United States were being quarantined, because they were in that province, or visiting family in Wuhan or wherever they were. And so again, that amount of travel and the people leaving the country, and not just for the US, for Canada, for London, for all over the world. And so really scary stuff if you think about it.
It's extremely scary. And when you see the pictures and images, it really doesn't it doesn't do it justice, because that's the scariest thought ever, that even if you got out of your house, you would have nowhere to go. You wouldn't be able to leave the city you're in. We're talking about, 45, 50-foot diameter tunnels being filled in with concrete, and essentially that just doesn't seem to me like something that flew. And then if people say, well, it's just this and they're overreacting, why would they do that? What is the other motivation? What scares me is if it is completely just whatever, the deniers say, then what is the actual motivation, right? What else would this be for? There's either two that are really going around, and population reduction is one, and then of course you have the other one that it's guiding us all towards something, right? And we can't say the V word, but you guys probably know. Anybody who watches this show probably knows. So, Ed, do you think that China knew this was going to happen? I mean, do you think that it was just, this is something that they had no idea was coming?
Well, there's a lot of speculation of what the source was, of course. And, everybody has their opinion and stuff like that. And of course, like you were talking earlier, a lot of people out there spreading a lot of disinformation. And I think part of that is done on purpose, just to try to keep people in check. Because if they go, oh, well, this person said this, and then this person, said something totally different. And so there's a tremendous amount of disinformation. But if you look, and this is what I always tell people, I said, put on your thinking caps and look at the situation and what is going on. There's got to be more to what's being told to us, the average public, because of what the governments are doing. I personally believe, my opinion, and again, I have nothing to factually back it up, but you had a level 4 containment area in Wuhan, China, a biolab, okay? And they were experimenting on a lot of different, viruses and stuff like that. My opinion, because I'll tell you what, I'll tell you fact from opinion. My opinion is something got loose, and that's how this started. And they tried to cover it up, and as it got worse, because, they're modifying they're genetically modifying these things, it's continued to get worse until the point where they had to come out and not totally be 100% honest, but honest to a point, because of the fact that it is spreading all over the world.
And as far as, I talked to you off air about the whole Timothy Cunningham, the Russian lab, my kind of half theory there. Do you find anything in that interesting?
I do. I mean, like I said, you have to look at everything, and kind of try to process through the different stuff, and I guess the best way to say it is try to read through the BS. And but like I said, everything that is going on, it's just not adding up from what they're telling us, what we're being told, the narrative that we're being given. It just doesn't add up. So I'm a big believer in questioning everything, and I always tell my subscribers this too: don't take what I say just on face value. Do your own research too, because I don't claim to be an expert on everything. I mean, I know a lot of stuff, but I'm not an expert on everything. And if I don't know something, I'll tell people. I'm like, yeah, I don't know that. I have no idea. But like I said, there's a lot more going on. I know people are talking Agenda 21 and all those type of things, and I think this was an accident. I don't think this was done intentionally. Now, could it have been done intentionally? Of course it could have been, but I don't believe that's the case. It doesn't make sense to kill off your own people. That doesn't make any kind of sense at all. And I've also heard the rumor that is being spread in China that the Americans let this loose over there. And there's that rumor as well. And again, there's no factual information behind that. But could that be something that's true? It could be. Again, there's way too many unknowns, way too many unanswered questions. I mean, they didn't even admit for several weeks that it was person-to-person contact. So, I mean, again, and then until it was proven, yes, there is person-to-person contact. And then finally, the Chinese government admitted at that point that, yes, it was person-to-person contact and that it is also airborne as well.
Now, as far as I'm going to get some questions in here. I see. We would have to debate on another time about as far as what the motivation of getting your own people and this and that. I think that when you say getting their own people, I think that when you get high enough, they don't consider us even our people. I mean, they consider us literally, doormats. So that's just my opinion, but I'm sure you agree if we were able to explain this more. But really, what I want to do is I want to pull some questions from the audience, and then we're going to take a couple calls. We are going to be taking phone calls here in a second, and what's great is how we set up the audio. The callers will be able to talk directly to you or to me or to Dex. Let's see here. If you guys have questions in the DLive chat, please ask. And if you have questions in YouTube chat, put them in the comments because me and Ed are going to get together again. I was actually going to ask you if you could possibly come on next week and let's check in on this and maybe go over some of the things that would help.
Yeah, absolutely. Not a problem at all.
Okay, and then, let's see. Somebody said sound is out. I hope that that's just you. Let's see. Prepper Nurse
Adam,
is
sounds
on.
fine.
Prepper Nurse is on. He is still on.
Yep, I am here.
Okay, what to do if you can't get masks? What would you do if you couldn't get a mask?
Oh,
and that
man,
was, of course, by the way, that was Karma is Here.
You know what? It's some protection. I mean, like using a scarf or several scarves or something like that. Any kind of protection is better than nothing. Make sure that you have some kind of eye protection as well. And I don't care, if it's just like some kind of shield or something, but if there's not masks, some of the, like the N95 and the N100 mask are designed to filter out a lot of stuff. So it's really hard. There's not an alternative that's going to work 100% like the mask will. But you could, like I said, using scarves or something to protect your face and, and your mouth and stuff like that. I mean, something is better than nothing.
Now, as far as masks go, there's a lot of people debating if that a regular masks, the P100 compared to N95. Do you know how those work? Like which ones are better? Somebody said P100 isn't as good as N95, and somebody else said no, P100 is actually better. That's 100% of the particulates. Can you explain how that works?
Well, the P100 is definitely the higher quality mask. It's a better mask. It's more expensive. So it does. It filters out all the different particulates, where the N95 will filter out a certain amount of particulates. So, as opposed to just a regular mask that doesn't really filter out much of anything, but it's something, again, better than nothing. So the better quality mask that you can get, I absolutely recommend that you get the best quality that you can. If you can get like a gas mask, that's even better because it has a good, and here's something I want people to think about. If you have a gas mask, the way to seal your gas mask to your face is once you put your gas mask on, is you suck in and you take a deep breath, and that's going to seal that mask to your face better. And I don't think a lot of people know that or realize that they need to do that to make sure that there's a good seal to your face with that mask. So if you can get a gas mask, that's the best thing that you can possibly have. Make sure you have plenty of filters, because the filter is only going to last for so long.
And as far as how long do they last, do you know if you get like one of the official ones with the double filters and all that? I mean, are we talking days or months?
Like your N95 mask, you're looking at about between 4 and 8 hours on that mask. Okay, because you're obviously you're breathing, you're putting your moisture into it and stuff like that. So that's only going to last you for. Realistically, the ideal thing you're going to want to do is try to not go out at all if you can help it. But if you have to go out, realize that N95 mask is going to give you between 4 and 8 hour window, and then you better have another one.
Okay.
And so, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. I've got two really exciting questions here from J.R. Palehorse. Actually, three. Nightcrawler 715. This one I think would be. So I've covered before, and you've covered before, DHS buying massive millions of bullets. In fact, enough bullets, DHS, Department of Homeland Security, not somebody else, not the Army, DHS buying enough rounds of ammo, including penetrating illegal rounds, what do you call it, hollow tips, for a 20-year conflict with another country. Do you think that this is linked to DHS buying those rounds, or do you think that that's just coincidence?
I think that the DHS and all the other different agencies prepare for every contingency, and so they have things drawn up that possibly could happen, might happen. So I wouldn't say it was linked directly. This is my opinion. But, again, they're going to prepare for any kind of contingency that may happen. And you can guarantee that they have prepared for any kind of long conflict with somebody else, an invading force, if you will. And so, yeah, there's a possibility that, they were thinking ahead and saying, this is something that could happen. And again, if you think about it, if we have some kind of major pandemic, which is a possibility that's going on right now, that might be used against our own people.
And why do you think they would actually get hollow tips? That's for going through armor. That's for going through bulletproof vests. And then of course there was the whole Jade Helm thing where this was real. It wasn't a theory, right? It was
right.
They had actors basically say, "You can't take my gun. I'm an American citizen." Is that creepy or what? I mean,
that is creepy. And like I said, this is the thing. If you want to get onto that subject a little bit, we can. Why are they trying so hard to disarm America? That's what I don't understand, because realistically, if you go back and you go to World War II and they ask the Japanese why they never invaded the West Coast, because, we had our troops were spread out over the world. We didn't have a largest army as we ended up having at that time. And they asked somebody after the war, why did you not come in and invade America? And they said, because every American has guns. They're armed, and they know how to use them. So if you look at like the hunters in certain states, there's more registered hunters in certain states than the largest armies in the world. So we have everybody's armed, and nobody's ever going to invade this country until they disarm us. So why is that the agenda, to disarm the populace? When what would happen if they disarm the populace, it opens us up for invasion. Think about that. What is that agenda?
Well, so that's a whole nother show. We would, and
yes.
literally, we could literally have another. And what's great, Ed? I need to invite you over to here, because you can honestly talk about all that kind of stuff and not worry about it. So we will have a whole show on that. Great answer. I also have the next question, and because I want to get as many people be able to get knowledge from you as possible, because Ed really does. I mean, he's professional at this. He does this. He doesn't talk the talk and not walk the walk. He is an off-gridder. He does prep. He eats, sleeps, and breathes this stuff. So, and he has a medical background. That's why he, of course, is prepper nurse.
And I'm also ex-military on top of it.
And ex-military. You could keep going, too, I'm sure. Phil Billy from YouTube says, never mind. You're awesome, Phil Billy, but that isn't a question. Let's see here. When Nightcrawler 715 says, when should we consider keeping our kids out of school?
All right. I've been asked this question a lot on my channel recently, and people have said, when will we know when it's time to pull our kids, out of school and keep them home? You got to pay attention to what's going on. As things, if they continue to deteriorate here in the United States, and that's what, like I said, it's paying attention. And what I tell my subscribers, I said, when you see me doing a show and both of my kids are home with me, then it's time to get your kids home. But I've also said, if in my opinion, when I feel like it's time that you need to get your family home, I will absolutely tell my subscribers, because I will be honest about that. I'm never going to try to jump the gun too soon. Do I think it's that time now? I don't at this point. What we can do now is we still have time to get ready. But again, I believe that window is closing very, very rapidly. We need to continue to pay attention to what is going on. With 15 confirmed cases in the United States, that's not the time to pull your kids out of school, because there's a lot of ramifications with that. But at the same time, we need to be prudent of what is going on. So pay attention to what's going on, and also know that we're never going to be given the full truth.
Okay, great answer as far as I agree with you there. And then a couple other things that, Melanie91 says, ask if he's single.
I am single. Yes, I am.
Yeah. So, Prepper Nurse 1 is single. He's a great dad. He is actually a great catch, and he's got a big heart, and he cares about people, and he's not about money or anything else. He's literally about spending time talking about these subjects. You've helped a lot of people. I know you have. So anyways, I just wanted to push you up a little, because you are really a genuine person off and on camera. This is exactly who Ed is, no matter when you talk to him. So, okay. And then N95. Oh, okay. So here's one thing I want to add into. So N95 masks are still available at some Lowe's and Home Depots. Here they're not. But what was cool is, let's see. Here they were not. But like we said, there's other kind of masks that are actually better than N95. Some say that N95 aren't even sufficient enough. But again, you can go up. You just can't go down from there. Let me show you. Let's see.
Well, one of the things that you can get, guys, too, and I don't know if people have thought about this, you go to a paint store and get that respirator and stuff like that that the painters use when they're painting, so that they can breathe and are not breathing in all those fumes and stuff like that from painting.
That's actually
those
what
are available out there. Those are very, very good to have as well.
That's exactly what I'm showing, and it gets the liquid particles too. So because you deal with if you're paint spraying and things like this, that's what ends up going through some of the normal masks. So something like this is a P100, and it gets 100% of the particulates, but it also gets some of the oily particulates that the other ones don't. But that one's like about $40, and when you're buying it for a whole family of 5, then it gets big. And then, what about small children though? If you can't find a mask for small children, you're left with getting it online. And what's funny is one of my subscribers said he bought a child's mask, and it was made in Wuhan. And
oh my God, that's
he literally
funny.
sent it. He brought it back. He didn't even open the thing. He brought it back to the UPS. And he said, I'm not taking this. Imagine that.
That, what doesn't surprise me. I mean, like I said, most of our things that we get on an everyday basis, and people don't even realize it, it's all coming from China. So, you're looking at your medications, like 80% of our medications are made in China. a lot of our antibiotics, I think it's over 70% of our antibiotics are made in China. So that's what people need to think about too, as far as preparation goes, is getting those things now, your over-the-counter medications, while you can. I just saw a thing today, and somebody was saying, I got a message from somebody, and they were saying that they had gone to the store, and Advil, Tylenol, all those were running out. People were running out of them at like Walmart and stuff like that. So again, something as simple as an Advil or a Tylenol, people are scooping them up. So again, I highly, highly encourage people to prepare to shelter in place, do everything you possibly can to protect yourselves and your family. To me, it's always about family. My kids, I tell people, you know what, I've had a great life and I've had a wonderful life, but it's about the future, and the future's our children. And so my whole thing, the whole thing I got into prepping in the first place was to protect my children. And it doesn't matter how old they get. My kids are both 18 now. And, my daughter's in college and my son has decided to live with his mom now. But, if something happens, guess where they're coming? They're coming back to dad. So.
Well, and what's crazy is a lot of people pick on the preppers, and in fact, if you talk to people about prepping, they instantly, and I don't know why this is culturally, if you are a prepper, for some reason they have put a stigma of that you are either a conspiracy theorist, or that you're crazy, or that you're nuts because you're expecting something to happen. I talk about how it's in our brains and it's in our subconscious to not think about taboo things like death. Death, they've actually proven that there's something that says, don't think about it. It stops us from thinking about our own demise, right? I think that there's something else that kind of stops people from thinking about the disasters that could possibly happen. On the West Coast, we are literally waiting for one of the largest disasters in the world, and it's guaranteed to happen, but people don't want to think about it. People still won't prepare, even though they know. People, experts are saying, hey, this is going to happen. It's guaranteed. It happens every 240 years. It's been 320, but people still won't prepare. As far as this goes, do you think that plays into effect? Like, people just don't ever think. They always say, that I can't believe that happened here. That'll never happen in a place like this.
Well, a lot of people, because they don't want to prep or be involved in it, or they want to make an excuse of why they're not going to do it, that's what they'll do. They make excuses of why, or they'll justify why they do nothing. And on the East Coast here, we deal with hurricanes, we deal with flooding, we deal with snowstorms, ice storms, and they happen all the time. And it just absolutely amazes me that in this country, we're talking about the U.S., 95% of the people in the United States are not prepared for a 2-week disaster. And, there's certain events that trigger people and it wakes them up. Be it Hurricane Sandy. I've had a lot of people that are, that follow my channel that live down in New Jersey and New York City, in that area, that actually dealt with Hurricane Sandy. And they were like, that's what woke them up, because they realized how unprepared they were. And that's what got them started going. For me, my light bulb moment was, what happened down in New Orleans. And so when that whole thing happened, it's quite many, many years ago now, but that was my light bulb moment, because I realized we cannot rely on the government to take care of us in that emergency situation. We need to take care of ourselves. So that was, for me, that was my wake-up call, if you will. And so, I like I said, I just tell people, why would you not, especially if you have children, especially if you have young children, how could you ever look your children in the eye and say, I didn't think enough to make sure that I had things to take care of you? That's what I will never understand, ever.
And you probably heard, but I don't know if you know Able Body, but she's a regular here, and she told her story. In fact, we ended up doing kind of its own separate piece on this of Katrina. And Hurricane Katrina showed us a lot of things. In fact, it showed us that even the police people would run up and say, "Hey, can you help me?" And they're like, "No, I'm actually going to save my own family." Police left their own positions and they just basically, went with the wind. People were looting. People were, ravaging any kind of thing that was left. Any store that was open, they broke windows, stole things. People were actually killing each other. I mean, it was really bad. And then she was involved in that because she was locked down. She wasn't even in the center of town. She was actually in a town like right there. And they had them in martial law. She actually dealt with real martial law. And there were government contractors doing dirty stuff. And she talked about that. She actually had an escort to her hospital where she worked and back. And she said it was, her story was absolutely epic. Everybody was sitting at the edge of their seats. And this is just this woman's daily life during that. And that was when a lot of the Q followers were saying, yeah, martial law. And some of us were like, no matter, I think they took what Q said wrong or something. We do not want martial law. Martial law is the scariest thing you will ever envision happening to the U.S. That's just my opinion.
It suspends the Constitution. The Constitution is thrown right out the window with martial law.
Do you think that we could have a martial law over something like this this event that's happening if it got worse, if it got bad enough, I guess?
Yes, if it got bad enough, they would absolutely declare martial law, because then it would be total control. They would I want you guys to think about this. Everybody talks about, their bug out location, wherever that may be and stuff like that. And, I'll just get there and stuff like that. If they shut all the roadways down, and the thing is, people, they don't have enough troops to do this or that. All they got to do is block the roads. They block the roads. You don't need a whole lot of people to block the roads. And if somebody tries to come, and if they shot those people will stop coming that way. So they could literally shut down cities, shut down travel, and people would not be able to go. And if they were panicking because there was a virus spreading out throughout whatever city it could possibly be, wherever in the country, they would be locked in. It's just like, I want you to think about this. So here's a thought that we're going to go back a ways, and I'm going to make an explanation of something, and people don't think about this. So let's think back about the Watts riots back in 1968, okay? And the police put up barricades and stuff like that and just let the people riot, correct? Remember, I don't know if you remember that or not, if you've read about that. But you know why the police put up the barricades? It wasn't to keep those people in. It was from keeping outside people coming in and putting down the riot. That's why they put up those barricades. And a lot of people don't realize that. But that's the exact reason the police blocked those areas off, so other people could not come in and stop those riots. So that's kind of scary if you think about that as well.
That is absolutely scary if you think about it, because throughout history, do you agree with me that the newest generation and even the generation behind it, we are so far away from the last world conflict that people just don't think it's ever going to happen again, that they think that we're civilized and we're never going to get into a, kind of a world war situation?
Well, yeah, because you figure the last World War ended in the 1940s. So we're so far removed that even my generation, I'm the first generation X. Like the baby boomers are up to 1964. 1965 is the first year of Generation X. I'm a Generation X. So, even my generation, we had, the Vietnam conflict and all that type of stuff and everything else that's happened since then. But we've never had to deal with a world war type of conflict. And, and think about this, other than, Civil War or when we did the Revolutionary War, we really haven't dealt with war on a major level in this country, in the United States. It's always been overseas, over someplace else. So, people are not prepared for that in any way, shape, or form. In the younger generation, if the electronics went out, they'll wet their pants. They don't know what to do because they're so connected with electronics and being on, with the internet and everything else like that, where my generation, we never had that growing up. So it's a huge difference today.
No, I completely agree with you. And then as far as the separation of everyone from that, from the bad things that could happen, I think that it's, somebody said cognitive dissonance. Now, I have a couple more questions here. Let's just get the phone lines open. Let's see here. Okay, so somebody says, please correct your fake news about hollow points. Maybe I said, I don't know what fake was this about it, but it is reported in Forbes that they did buy hollow points. So we have the articles to back that up from Forbes. Several others, including New York Times and others. I mean, you could call them, of course, fake news, but again...
Hey, Adam, I think the issue there, it's not that big of a deal, but people were saying the armor piercing versus hollow point. Hollow point's for body damage. Armor piercing's a solid point, and it's...
Oh, I said armor. It pierces armor. Sorry about that. So just to correct, hollow point is for piercing flesh, right? It's for tearing somebody apart.
A lot of damage.
It does a lot of damage internally. And
can it go through vests? Is that...
No, titanium bullets or full metal versions are the ones that are designed to go through.
Is that what they say?
It's called an armor piercing, and those are usually illegal.
Is that what they call full metal jackets?
No, that's a full metal jacket is totally different. Armor piercing rounds, that regular public cannot buy armor piercing rounds.
Okay, so thank you. Let's see. Yeah, thank you to whoever. And then, I'm sorry, continue.
No, but armor piercing rounds will go through bulletproof vests. They don't want the public to have that because you look at how many police officers are shot every day. And that's why they want to make sure that that's not available to the regular public. Now, do some people have those? Of course they do. But again, you're looking at a situation where, the Department of Homeland Security has that, because if you have, your bulletproof vest on and you're coming, and if they have the armor piercing rounds, and you're like, even in a car that's armored, they can just tear you up. And that's why they have that type of situation, for people that are rising up, or for other, if you had an invasion force, that's why they have that as well.
So I just have to say, no, thank you for correcting me on that. But the person who did it, please, everybody, stop saying fake news. Say, hey, can you correct it? You were wrong on this, or can you correct that's not true. The whole fake news, if you say something that's a little off, I mean, it's not fake news. It's just incorrect news. The fake news thing is way overused. Some people call me fake news, but I'll correct anything. If people call me out on it, I'll correct it, and I'll say, I'm sorry, I apologize. I have done so for 2 years, and we back everything we have up with articles. They are there. They're archived. You can go back and see it. Again, people go back to like Hot Musket. Hot Musket was a caller. It was not me putting out information. It was me simply providing a platform so someone else could. And then now people still bring that up, yet it was actually confirmed. They changed the name of it, and then they even released it. It, in fact, wasn't that big of a deal, but it was a real secret thing. That's why they had to deny it. They were trying to keep the heat off of the border because of the situation that was going on with T-Man and everything else. If you don't remember, there was an actual domestic deployment to the border. That ended up coming out 3 or 4 months later, and people said it was fake. It wasn't fake. Neither were those orders, but those orders, they ended up putting out a bunch of stuff. The Pentagon does not respond to a small little YouTube channel and their claims. That just doesn't happen. The Pentagon itself, what we can prove is that they responded directly to my show. That's crazy. So anyways, I just wanted to correct that. Let's get the phones open. Again, if people want to call me fake news all day or want to say something, then they need to come with specifics, and don't come with something that's a year and a half old that we've already gone over. We back our stuff up, and if we don't, I even told, I think it was DeFango the other day, talking about Dr. Paul Cottrell, and I said, if there's something on there that Dr. Cottrell said that was incorrect, I will take it down and I will unclaim it. But nobody could, nobody's come and said that, because we don't try to spread fake knowledge. And that's what pisses me off. Because we don't have millions of dollars in a crazy studio, we can't be included in this new social media world of news. In fact, Canada is even passing laws where you might have to in fact, the president, Trudeau, says that you are going to have to get a license if you're a website containing news. That means they could decline a license if they don't like what your news is. And that's probably a test for down here.
It's all about control. All about control. And the thing is, you were saying too, and I've always been the same way. If I make a mistake, if I say something wrong, I'll be the first to get on my channel and say I was wrong and I apologize. I'm not perfect. You're not perfect. We all make mistakes. And so it's very easy for people to sit back on the sidelines and nitpick. And especially, like you had said earlier, you have your trolls or your haters or whatever you want to call them, that all they do, their whole purpose for whatever reason, which I never understood, is to try to discredit you, talk crap about you, try to disrupt whatever you're doing. And if they, and the sad part is, if those people put that energy into something positive, it'd be amazing what they could accomplish instead of being negative, and it's unnecessary stuff.
Well, I mean, if you think about the time somebody spends, like just earlier, this guy made like 4 accounts to troll somebody I was watching, and I'm thinking, you just literally spent 2 hours, like literally typing in information, making new accounts just to go back in and say, you're this or you're that, you're ugly. It's like you just did all that work. You could have, been doing something online to make money or do something else. You could have been creating something instead of trying to tear something else down. It's like, all of our shows are voluntary. You don't have to watch. And it comes down to the fact that people are bothered. They just don't like us. And then they go, well, that guy, I just don't like him. So I've got to stick around. I'm going to hear everything he says, and I'm going to try to pick apart what he says and see if it's wrong. It comes down to they just don't like you. I mean, it's not because, and they feel like, most of them say, I have to do the world justice and take this guy down. I don't understand that. I really don't. If, we're not hurting anybody. We're not telling people to sell their house and to move into a cave. It's kind of crazy. Anyways, let's
hear you. No, I agree with you 100%. It's, like I said, I'll be honest with you. There's channels out there that I don't care for. You will never hear me talk negatively about them on air. I never will. I just don't watch their shows because I don't care for them. That's as an adult, and notice how I say an adult, that's how you handle things. If you don't like what somebody's doing, don't watch. And like you just said, this is all, you come on here, you come on by choice to watch our stuff. And if you don't like what we're doing, I just never could understand why people continue to watch. It just makes absolutely no sense to me.
Well, thank you again. Let's get the phones open. I do want to say thank you. There's quite a few people that ended up donating. Lala, I just saw that. Thank you. Red in the Valley. Ilea, thank you for the diamond. They actually don't like themselves. Yeah, that's a good point. Now,
yes, that's true.
This stream, GT476, thank you so much. I appreciate that. You've actually been the top contributor. Jamie Lynn, or Jimu Lin, Lisa K, Drac Raken, or Dak Raken, and Whitney 0109. Thank you guys for contributing again. And then Nurse Betty is actually this month's top contributor. So thank you guys. I appreciate that. And of course, we're growing the chest as well. Okay, and let's see here. All right, so Dex, can you get the phones? I'm sure you got some people loaded. You can call in at 224400 Marf. That is our live call-in number. It scrolls down here at the bottom. How are calls looking, Dex? Let's see here.
Hey, I'm transferring calls now.
Okay. Up first, we have Serenity. Serenity, you are live on Marfoogle TV. Let's see here. 1 second. Serenity, can you hear me? Sorry about that. Serenity, can you hear me now? We might have lost Serenity. Ed, you guys, can I still hear you guys?
Yep, I can hear you fine.
Whoa, sorry about that. Turned you guys up too. Blew my ears out. Okay.
Sorry about that.
Dex, did we lose Serenity?
Is she not on your line anymore?
No, it does not look like it.
Okay, I'll get her back on. I'm gonna go ahead and transfer you the next caller.
Okay, thank you so much,
Jane.
and I apologize, Serenity, if we dropped you out. That was not intended. And then let's see here. Start a new thing here. Bam, bam.
I got
All right.
Serenity back. She's coming.
Serenity, you are live once again on Marfoogle News.
Well, 2 times is always better, Adam.
Hey, how are you doing, Serenity? So, what would you
I'm
like
doing
to?
great.
What would you like to talk about today? Do you have a question for Ed?
Yeah, I do. But first, you was asking about the gas filters, like the NATO 40 millimeter gas mask filters, how long they lasted. They last 12 to 24 hours. They're made of HEPA filter and oxidized charcoal. And as soon as the air hits the charcoal, it starts to activate it. And you'll know when they start going bad, when it becomes hard for you to breathe in them.
So, essentially, when they fill up with the particles, then they stop working, and you'll know, basically.
Correct.
Okay, and then now, do you
And,
you had something about the cruise ship here on your tag here? What would you like to ask or say?
Well, my thing is that we're supposed to be taking 1,000 people and putting them in San Francisco, and these cruise ships where they're only keeping them for 14 days. And I was going to ask Ed, being as they have now figured the virus can not show signs up to 24 days, what are we going to do with these other 10 days when we let these people loose?
That is a great question. And from what I understand, from what I'm being told, is it's not in every case that it's 24 days. But again, to me, I think that if that is a possibility, they could be 24 days. They definitely should extend the quarantine of those people. And I know that they just let a whole bunch of them loose in California after the 14 days. And that's kind of frightening because they could very much be contagious and we just still don't know it. And they could be let out in public and be spreading that around. So that's a very scary reality. They need to really have a coordinated plan, and I'm talking about the government, on how they handle what they're doing. So I think that those people definitely, the quarantine should have been extended, and I don't understand why they let them out. That makes no sense at all unless it's done on purpose.
Okay, so sorry. Serenity, I apologize. How the setup is, and I didn't realize it. As a caller, you might not be able to actually hear Ed. So, essentially, what he said is he doesn't understand why there isn't a longer quarantine field for the folks that are coming out of that ship because of how the incubation period works and things like this. So I'm actually going to figure something out here, but he did answer your question, and you can, of course, go back and listen to that. I'm going to figure out something before the next call to fix that. But is there one more question that you have for Ed? And then do you have the ability to, after you ask the question, to turn on the audio on a phone or a device?
Yeah, I can. Another thing I wanted, first off, I love the work that he's done on his homestead, the greenhouse, the chicken coop, and his dog Caesar. Every time he yells Caesar, my dog's name is Caesar, and he perks his ears up. But has anyone tested to see if this is contaminating our water or their water that could possibly contaminate our water?
I have not heard anything about contaminating the water. I haven't heard anything about that at all. So I can't give you a concrete answer that yes, it can or no, it can't. That information is not being given out. So I don't have the answer to that, but I think that's a great question. Hopefully the answer is no, because if that's a possibility, that would be really, really scary if it could be transferred in the water as well.
Okay, so I actually was kind of translating off, muting my mic and translating for her. So did you hear that, Serenity? She's probably ended up doing the listen afterwards. By the way, I just want to say real thanks to Baby Yoda. Thank you for being a huge part of the YouTube show last night. Lizard49, Colleen Luce Wilson, you have been supporting me just in every single way, sharing, liking. I know because people have literally said that you have suggested me to them. And then Baby Yoda, you've been huge too. You guys, you two especially, like I wanted to do what I could for you, including making music for you just in general. So that's just something you don't have to do that for, but I appreciate it. Serenity, thank you so much for calling. I appreciate you. And I hope that you have a great day, and I hope that you got a good couple of answers out of that, okay?
Okie dokie. You have a good night.
All right, you too, Serenity. God bless. All right, and then we're going to pull some other people in here. Next, we actually have Shane. Shane is going to be live here. Shane, you are live on Marfoogle News. What's going on?
Hello, Adam. Hello, Ed.
Hey, Shane, how are you?
Just a couple things I wanted to talk about. First of all, how, with all of the quarantines in China, how do they really know, though they probably wouldn't even give out the information, how would they really know how many people have died?
Okay, so again, Ed, you can hear Shane, but Shane, if you can, maybe mute your mic and listen to his answer for that.
Okay.
The true number, I don't think any of us will ever get the true number as far as the people that have died. Again, that's something that the government of China is just definitely not going to give out the true numbers of that. And so I don't think we'll ever know what the true numbers are, but we can kind of, in a way, if you want to call it, guesstimate from the different information that we're receiving as far as, like I said, the person pretending to be a government official calling the one nursing home, or not nursing home, I mean, the funeral home. And, they were talking about how they're like, going nonstop, burning bodies 24/7. The different stuff that we can prove that proves that they're burning bodies at a large rate, is definitely saying that the numbers that are giving are not true. So as far as ever getting the true number of people that are dying, I don't think that we're ever going to get that. And I'll tell you right now, in my opinion, if things take off here in the United States, we'll never get the true numbers in the United States either. They would never let us know what the true numbers were.
Okay, and then I believe, Shane, you should be getting that here any second. It's going to be delayed a little bit. I was going to let you ask one more question if you had.
Well, the next question, I can't hear him at all, but that's okay. My question is, even if the CV doesn't even get here, which it has hit spots, but if it doesn't have an impact here from that standpoint, the impact to the economy and how it will affect us could be even a bigger issue. Just going into Best Buy today to get some iPod Pro Airs, they told me they didn't have them, and that it might be Christmas next year before they get any more shipments available. So if the factories are not producing stuff, and all of the stuff that we do rely on, even for parts and pieces to make other things, the long-term effect for our economy could be grateful.
Wow. So Ed, you of course heard that, and then I'm gonna mute my mic and actually talk to him off and translate what you say. So I apparently you can't get different products already because of this. So Ed, if you could answer that, that would be great.
Okay. Honestly, the effect on the economy, their economy alone, from what is going on, has got to be devastating. But it absolutely will have a trickle effect on the rest of the world, and especially here in the United States, because we import so many things from China that it's definitely going to affect things here. It's going to definitely affect the economy in a very negative way. When we are a consumer economy, that's what we are here in the United States. We don't do a lot of manufacturing here anymore. So with not getting those products in to be able to replace things that we need and what we want, financially it's going to hurt everybody. So it's definitely going to have a very, very negative effect. Like I said, and not just us, not just China, but also around the world as well. With this whole thing, because I'll tell you, in my opinion, what's going on in China, and it continues every day from, it's showing that it's not getting any better, that it's getting worse. We don't know the true extent of the damage yet that it's going to be, but as it continues, we're going to get a more broader picture of that. And as things continue to get worse, it absolutely is going to have a very, very negative impact on our own economy and what we're able to get and have here. So again, and I said this earlier, I highly, highly encourage people, while you can, while supplies are out there, get out there, get those medications, get whatever supplies that you can get now while they're still in stock, because as soon as things get worse here in the States, which I believe that they will, you're going to see a run on the stores, and there's not going to be anything there for anybody. So that's my answer. I hope that helps you. And great question too, by the way. Thank you very much for that question.
Yeah, no, that was a great question. Now, Shane, did you get that one? Because I did try to translate that off air. Nope, maybe we dropped him. I don't know. Well, that works. Shane, you're probably watching by now. We're probably going to be moving on to the next caller. I appreciate you calling in. It looks like it might have dropped right when we switched over, or right after you stopped talking. So I'm sure you probably heard that.
I can hear you on my tablet, but not on the phone.
Oh, cool. Okay, we got you. It looked like you dropped. So Shane, did you heard me though, right?
Well, that works. Shane, you're probably watching by now.
Yeah, that's okay.
We're probably going to be moving on to the next caller.
That's the problem with telling him to watch the.
It looks like it might have dropped right when you switched over, or right after you stopped talking.
Yeah, Shane.
I'm sure you probably heard that. I can hear you on my tablet, but not on the phone. Oh, cool. Okay, we got you.
That's weird. Okay.
Yeah, that was weird.
Okay, so let me make sure I can. The thing is it's just like a radio show. If they listen on the radio and not the thing, then you can't really tell them anything. Okay. And let's get. Looks like Pagan 11 is up next. Let's see if we can do that. Ed, how are you doing? I'm
fine.
Are you good on time and everything?
Oh yeah, we're good.
3 hours later there, so.
Right.
Okay. All right, Pagan 11, you are live on Marfoogle News.
Hey, hon, how are you?
Good. So, do you have some questions for Ed?
You know what? Actually, I did. But the original reason I was calling is I'm a fellow Foogle family member had caught the Frank Kern Canal flowing north when it should be flowing south.
Wait. Say that one more time.
Okay. The Frank Kern Canal, which is the major canal here in the Central Valley, we carry water to the aqueduct to Los Angeles. Well, this is supposed to flow north to south. Well, Ladybug caught it flowing south to north.
What would that mean? I mean, the last time a river ran backwards was when we had the huge earthquake with the New Madrid.
Thank you. That's where I was headed, sweetheart. Okay, so like maybe 2 days after she caught the canal flowing north, we had a 4.5, I want to say it was, at a place called Tom's Place, which is close to Mammoth Lakes up in Fresno, which is the big confirmed super volcano in Fresno County, I think is what it's called. I don't know. But yeah, so we caught that. Well, not we, I shouldn't say we, because this was all Ladybug, and she's from Discord, and she had stopped by my house to actually Bluetooth me the video. And so I actually quit my whole bugging in process because of this whole coronavirus thing. You remember I told you I was bugged in?
Yeah.
Well, I quit bugging in at about January 30th to get this video from her to, report this to the family and stuff. And by the way, the hospital here is still saying the same thing, by the way. But anyways, so, but yeah, I just wanted to put this video out there and just to show everybody that there's strange anomalies. And yes, this coronavirus is going on, but we also, everybody here on the West Coast still needs to also have their head, like how you say, on a swivel. We need to be paying attention to everything. And I know we're all super focused on this coronavirus thing because it is astronomically huge. And we all know that we're being lied to. But us people here on the West Coast, we gotta have our head in a couple different games over here. You know what I'm saying? We got to pay attention to a couple different things over here, because not only do we have the impending Cascadia, but now we have the coronavirus. So, just everybody needs to double prep. But I just wanted to make people aware that, this Cascadia thing is still impending, along with this virus.
So you know that the same prep that applies to the CV actually applies to a major earthquake. If say a major earthquake hits Seattle, they say that all of the particulates and everything from the building supplies from the crushed and crashed buildings is so unhealthy that you could die in certain cases depending on what you inhale. So if you especially with, how Oregon has been said to have, it has all of these brick and unsupported masonry buildings, that it's literally going to just be it's going to be an air mess. Like the air is going to be so polluted with gunk from the buildings that it's not going to be breathable.
Asbestos, yes.
Ed, do you agree on that?
Asbestos, and yes.
Oh, I absolutely agree 100% with what you're saying.
So, Pagan, do you have a question for Ed before you go?
Yeah, actually, I wanted to ask him, because one of the last times I had called you, I had said, that I had spoke with my pharmacist about the masks and stuff, and basically kind of asking, how far do we have to go with this? I mean, do we really need to, if we go out into public, and because we all know, if it's like unprotected sex, if you touch this person, you touch that person, and that person, and that person, so on and so forth. So do we need to be decontaminating at the door, or is the simple hand washing, hand sanitizer, what should we really be doing here? I would just honestly like to know, because like I said, I spoke with the pharmacist and that's what he said, but like I said, I feel like we should almost decontaminate at the front door, but that's not idealistic either. So maybe there's a happy medium somewhere that is still safe and effective.
All right, great question, Pagan 11. I'm going to actually I'm gonna tell you right here, so don't leave. He's gonna be answering, and then I'm gonna be translating it for it. Ed, I would actually like to hear that answer as well.
Not a problem. Realistically, the best thing that you can do to help yourself and protect yourself, if you're going out in public and if you're going to like Walmart or something like that, they have the sanitary wipes that you can wipe down your cart with. Definitely, whatever you're going to be touching on that cart, definitely wipe that area down and stuff like that. Wipe your hands down. Proper hand washing. So what am I talking about with proper hand washing? You're going to want to do a minimum of 20 seconds of really scrubbing your hands and washing them. If you do a lot of hand washing, that's going to really, really help as well. Hand sanitizer is also going to help. Making sure that if you're out in public, that you're not like touching things and then touching your face, because we touch our face subconsciously. Like I don't even remember what they said. It was like 20 times, you know, in a minute or some crazy number that we do it. We just do it all the time, but without even thinking about it. I don't know exactly what the number is as far as that, but I know we touch our faces quite a bit. And so again, if you're out in public, making sure that here's another good thing that you can do if you're out in public. If you have to go out shopping, get a pair of gloves on. And when you're picking this, you know, and I'm talking about the medical gloves, and, you know, do your shopping with that on. And who cares what people look at you like? It doesn't make any difference. It's a barrier to protect yourself. Once you're done shopping, you take those gloves off, get rid of them, and then, you know, making sure that way. But like I said, proper hand washing is probably the best thing that you could possibly do in that situation, because you're going to get most of your stuff, other than if somebody coughs in your face. Obviously, that's a whole different story. But, you know, making sure that you're taking care of, you know, keeping yourself clean, not touching everything when you're out in public. Be really conscious of that. And that's a great way of doing it. And again, if you're going to go out in public and if this thing does get worse, definitely have eye protection on, have a mask on, and protect yourself. That would be my answer to people.
All right, thank you. I was trying to make sure that she heard every word you said. Now, did you hear that, Pagan?
Yes, honey, I heard everything you translated. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for calling in, Pagan11. Like you said, don't be embarrassed about possibly wearing, you know, my sister came on the show. She said she wasn't wearing the full-on mask, but she was wearing gloves. Because you can't stop from like doing that kind of stuff, you know, or get I don't know, skin-colored gloves so people don't even notice. Most people won't even notice that you're wearing them. But again, you might disinfect your whole cart, but then you don't realize you grab a hanger or you grab something else that 40 other people have touched. It's just really hard not to do stuff like that.
Okay.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, no, I heard everything you said. I appreciate it, hon. Thank you so much. Thank you guys for taking my call. I appreciate it.
All right.
Well, thank you for the question.
Yes. And Ed says thank you.
Yes, thank you both for your time. I appreciate it so much. You guys have a good evening.
All right, you too. Ed, I also did sign language on that one. It wasn't a proper sign language, but I think it would work. Now, Betty Sue says we are allowed 3M supply, but 3 meters supply, but we need 6 to 12 meters. Why are they taking it? We are the ants and they are the grasshopper. I don't know that. Money is dirty. Grandma sassy pants. Yeah, correct. Money is touched by millions. It's pretty gross.
Yeah, money's very, very dirty. Very dirty.
Okay, Joseph Newhouse is next. Let's see here. Joseph, you are live on Marfoogle News.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. So let me pull up your card real quick. It says that you have a video here, and can you explain what this is?
Yeah, so I saw the show yesterday, and you had that article about that giant star that might explode, it said. Right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and so I was looking at the article, and there was the artist's impression of the thing, and if you look at it, it's in the video that I don't know, Dex probably sent you a link for it, but if you remember, it looks like kind of like the infinity symbol or like a red circle with the blue circle. It's maybe 20 seconds into the video, but Yeah, and so it's like an infinity symbol, and it's just like
oh, I didn't see it at first.
If you remember, yeah. And you remember, like, I called in, I guess it was last week, and with that image from that other radio telescope, and it had the two circles, the red and the blue, and I was saying how it's kind of like gives you an as above so below idea with that central point. And yeah, so this, I thought it had the same kind of as above so below kind of idea. And so where it gets crazy is the article mentions a 17th century event known as Kepler's supernova. And I looked it up, and Wikipedia, the article has a description from Galileo where he says that the nova was very probably a large quantity of airy material that, quote, issued from the earth and shone by reflected sunlight. And so I was pretty surprised when I read that, because it sounds just like the aurora borealis, and, you know, with matching up with that as above so below stuff with the central point, like on that map, you know, X marks the spot at the center. And yeah, I just thought it was so interesting that it's just like each thing is like matching up with the previous thing.
Yeah, you know? and if you guys don't know who Joseph Newhouse is, his channel is right here, but I will cover the simplest thing, and then Joseph Newhouse will catch a symbol and then dig for a week on it and actually find all this crazy stuff. Last time it was about, which, by the way, if you are somebody who really likes a deep thinker, Joseph Newhouse is not only that, he goes deep into it, and then he has some not crazy, but definitely unique ideas about Earth. And I guarantee you there's a good chunk of our audience that actually agrees with him. Part of it is that there could be an Earth inside, or hollow Earth. Isn't that one of your theories?
Well, no, it's more like...
or you looked into it.
It's not a theory, but like they show us in symbols, like basically all these things kind of go along with the basic division symbol, you know, with like, it's got the line with two dots. And so the line would be like the plane, or what we call now the planet. And so it goes really deep, but you imagine it, you can imagine like the plane with the T at the end, where the T is like an unfolded cube, because there's all this, we don't have time to get into it really, but there's all this cube symbolism in all the religions and, you know, higher up secret people. I don't know so much about it, but, you know, like if you unfold a cube, it's like a cross. And so,
oh, weird. You're totally right. Do you guys know what he's talking about? If you've ever done one of those paper or cardboard boxes that you can put together, and they've got the flap, and then the one that goes over the top, and it basically looks like a cross. That's a very interesting thought.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if that's something that Ed would comment on, but I just like your calls, Joseph, and I am definitely intrigued by your mind and how you see something that no one ever catches, and then you look at it as a symbol, and then you have actually, previous episodes, you've called in and you've just blown my mind with the symbology you've found. I used to know a guy when I was pretty young, 14, 15, 16, that basically blew my mind with some of the symbology he knew. And he was very young. He was way above his years. But he's the one who taught me about the I, Luma, Nati, and a lot of the symbology that's like right in front of us, the triangles, the fast food signs. I mean, he could literally poke at any business and say, look at that, look at that, look at that. So make sure to check out Joseph Newhouse. Thank you for calling in, Joseph. I appreciate it. And love to...
Yeah, thanks for getting me on.
And I will definitely... we will link his channel on the website, so you guys can go to Joseph Newhouse's channel on marfooglenews.com. Thank you, Joseph. And then we have, oh, this is good. This is good. Ed, this is a good call for you.
Okay.
Rip Curl is here, and then we are almost there. So thank you for being along with us this long.
Nope, not a problem.
Okay, and let's see. Rip Curl. Send Rip Curl right over. All right, let's see here. Rip Curl, you are live on Marfoogle News.
Hey, Adam. Hey, Ed. How you guys doing? Hey, first off, I wanted to say I watch both of you guys, of course, as you know, and I really appreciate how you've been reporting on this, and while you kind of been reporting from a standpoint of not being panicked, but getting out as much information as possible. I'm a firm believer of they should be transparent about things and control panic with knowledge so that people feel like they can do something on their own. And that's part of the reason for my call tonight is, as a lot of people know, I was sick here recently right before this outbreak happened, coming back from a plane flight. And while I was sick, this all kind of unraveled. And I just wanted to share some of my experience while that happened. I was
because you were in the hospital.
Right. And I was in the hospital right before this started to take place, so I got to see it unravel. And there definitely was a change in procedures and how they did things. It went from, granted, I was being treated for particulates and airborne, etc. anyway, until they figured out I had the flu that turned into, and it was influenza A, which is unusual for our area. Right now we're inundated with B, and our beds are all full. We've been fortunate that we don't have any of the CV here yet, because we don't have really any main flights in. We live in a nice protected little area of Southern Oregon. However, even at that, they were having daily meetings like instantly once that hit the air, and they started gowning up, they started masking up, even more so, not just with me, but with everyone. And they were wearing shields on their masks, et cetera, et cetera. And, I'm fortunate to have, friends that are in the field and so forth. And kind of, this is definitely something that, even though we don't have it here, they are definitely treating it like we are in a zone like that and asking the questions and doing all of the things. Now, I don't think that that's something that should alarm people, but I think it is something that they should definitely take note of, because now I can tell you this. In fact, my daughter just got back from a trip where she had to fly, and guess what? She's sick. And she didn't go to China or anywhere like that, but she's got a head cold. And I'm going to the point, and I'll suggest this to other people, I wouldn't travel without taking wipes with you, without having just a little precaution kit, having a mask. I don't care how funny I look on an airplane, sick or not, I'm flying with a mask. I'm flying with a set of glasses on. And I've sent some pictures to you guys that I know that I'm sure you'll put up on the website for people to look at, of options you can find out there of glasses that can even seal against your face, that even look cool, because people worry about that, of course, as well as ones that are functional and affordable and don't look so cool. I even went and made kits for all of my kids, because one thing that's common is they haven't shut down any schools here. And the schools here, when our kids are sick, I don't send them to school, because I believe as a responsible parent, they shouldn't be spreading things. But not everybody does that. So I made kits for my kids that have masks, wipes, hand sanitizer, a set of eye protection in there, and alcohol wipes as well as just general wipes. Now, can I be there to make sure my kids are using them 24/7? No, but they take it pretty seriously. Like, one of them's out, bowling right now, and he called me to say, "Yep, Dad, I got it. I'm wiping things down. I'm not touching my face. I'm washing my hands before I eat." These are all things that we really need to remember. And you guys mentioned a really good one right before I came on. that I hadn't thought about as far as taking precautions. I can't remember what it is right now, but if it comes to mind, anyhow, I was able to find in the stores. They have a new N95 mask out that has a rubber seal on it now, and so it's a step below the one like you had with the rubber seal. That's a N100, but this is an N95 with a rubber seal, and it's a little higher rated. They call it an N95 plus, because I know things are becoming hard for people to find out there. And part of that is because of the panic, and another reason why we shouldn't panic. But we should actually ask questions, though, because the first thing I did was I asked the local stores and started going out to all the local stores and asking them, so if I wanted to order a box of this or a box of that, can you do it? And the answer was, no, we can't right now. So that tells me that there is something that you should be prepared for, because soon here we're not going to be able to prepare for it. And that kind of gets me to what some of the newer stuff. I mean, a lot of the stuff that I've had, that I've known about, has come about through your guys' reporting, has finally made it out to the news by the time I was able to call in and get in. But like, for instance, today I even messaged a few people saying, look, I called it. The what do you call it? The quarantine days. 3 days is where it started. Then it went to 14, but that doesn't make any sense. And I actually was able to talk to some doctors about this, and they were saying, well, yeah, but then you have the time that it can stay alive on a surface. They still don't know enough about the virus, and it's not being forthcoming from China on how long are you infectious after. We seem to know now that we have an asymptomatic period where we're infectious beforehand and may not even know it, and that since has increased to as much as 18 days. But how many days afterwards are we infectious, or aren't we? And that might be something that Ed can answer on. However, the infectious disease doctor that I just had an appointment with, actually, for going over some other tests and so forth like that, but they started drawing all kinds of blood as just a general rule. And in talking with him about it, what he said is that they're not being forthcoming. They're having problems, and I have to be careful about names I say and how much I say, so I won't say any patients' names or anything. But he said, we're having problems. Okay. Uh-oh. Okay, yeah, but yeah, what he had said is that we're having problems getting the information that we need about this virus. In fact, like how long is it infectious afterwards? His opinion was exactly what I was thinking, that it should be the 14 days plus the 9 days on any surfaces, and then they need to find out how infectious we are afterwards. Well, it just so happens that it came out just this morning that one place has come out and said that it should be a 30-day quarantine, but they still say in the same article that they don't know how infectious somebody is afterwards. And that's a big deal in releasing people to go home and controlling the outbreak. He happens to be from the Philippines, and now the Philippines has it. And he says this, from the information he's being given, because that's the question I asked him, is this a naturally occurring bug, or is the rumor about it being genetically made into a, whatever you want to call it, a bioweapon, or if it was played with or anything like that? And what he said is he can't answer to whether or not it's made into some sort of bioweapon or not. But what he can say for sure is this is not a naturally occurring bug that they're working with. From the information that he's been given, this is something that definitely had at some point been altered or messed with or something, for two reasons. One, because of the things that are attached to it and some of the properties that they're finding that it has, and the difficulties they had, as well as how long it's staying asymptomatic. These are all not common things, as well as some of the things that were attached to it, like other viruses like the HIV and so forth like that. And he says these are all odd things that don't just happen in nature. And the fact that we're not seeing a whole lot of animals being affected by it as much as we are people. with all the people that are quarantined. So he says, no, this is definitely something that has slipped out of a lab that has been whether it was being messed with to try and find a vaccine or whatnot. But he believes that with the information they've been given, that that's what they're dealing with, is something that was in the lab at one point. So that's just something. And so I asked him, well, what would you do about it? He says, well, the only thing that we can do about it is take more precautions with your hygiene, not touching your face, staying out of crowds if you don't need to go to them. And if you're in a crowd, wear a mask, stay your distance from people, and so forth like that. That was his biggest advice. And if you have a cold or something like that, go see your doctor in his clinic first, and they'll probably test you and whatnot. But the worst place to be if you're ill anyway is in the hospital, where for sure the nasty bugs are. And when you come in with a mask on already. Come in washing your hands as you enter and leaving, and all of those kind of things. So those are just some things I wanted to share.
No, that's great. Rip Curl, and do you have a question for Ed before we go?
Well, man, Ed, do you have anything to add to that? And how does that relate to ideas that you've had as far as what you would do if you thought that this is a naturally occurring or not bug, and we do from this point? And do you believe that we should know all of the truth rather than having it hidden from us for fear of panic? That's just something I don't agree with, and I wanted to get your thoughts on that.
Well, thank you very much for the question, first of all. And what you were saying, I agree with 100% what you were talking about. Only thing I would add realistically, again, I believe that it is not a natural thing in nature as well. I absolutely believe that. I think that this has been modified for whatever reason, and if it escaped or was let loose on purpose, again, I don't think we'll ever know the true answer to that. But again, when you talked about, again, proper hand washing, making sure you're washing your hands for at least 20 seconds, and making sure that you're protecting yourself and other people around you as well. That's a great point of wearing a mask into the hospital when you go in there. Hospitals are a hotbed for all kinds of other stuff, not just, if it was just the coronavirus. There's a lot of other things that you can get out of a hospital as well. So again, it's like, we definitely should they should be more forthright with what is going on. Will they be? Absolutely not. I don't ever think that we'll be given the full truth of anything, because again, they're going to try to control the narrative. They're going to try to keep things as calm as they possibly can for as long as they can until it's too late. And in that meantime, I think what the powers that be are probably doing, they're preparing to protect themselves. And so again, we're fodder for the cannon fire, if you will. And they're going to be watching out for their own behinds, not for ours. So we need to be very, very proactive to take care of ourselves, to take care of our families, protect yourselves as much as possible. I've been saying on my channel, don't go to the movies, be careful going out to dinner and all those type of things. Don't try to be around crowds, like going to concerts and those type of things, because again, you're in a big crowd. First of all, you don't know where people have been. You don't know the contacts that they've had with other people. And again, when you're talking about, like with sending your kids to school, I know that when my kids were sick, I always kept them home because it was a responsible thing to do. I didn't want other people's kids to get sick as well. And so, but some people are not like that. They'll send their kid to school sick because they don't want to deal with them. So again, those are things that, affect everything. All of it it's everything affects everything else. So, but again, what we can do to protect ourselves, again, proper hand washing, wearing gloves, again, if you're going to go out in public and you're going to go shopping and stuff like that, and then discarding them and taking them off properly as well. That's really important, because you can reinfect yourself by taking them off wrong. And so, those are things to think about. So thank you very much for the question. Thank you for your comment, and I hope that helps.
No, and I think you answered that really, really awesome. Rip, I wanted to give you a chance. By the way, Rip Curl has been one of my mods, and he's out of Oregon. He's done an amazing job. I've actually had videos featuring him because he's gotten a lot of really great info. Just wanted to give you a chance, Rip Curl, to say anything as far as a bye or a shout out or anything else. And he's listening to the phone. We'll wait, Rip. We love you.
Gotcha. Hey, I didn't know if you were still recording on this, but he did bring up something that I did remember about being honest, and absolutely not. I'm not even sure we can trust that they're being honest with their own people. And the reason I say that is a good friend of mine is somebody in the Air Guard in a high up position, and I asked him, out of just curiosity, if anything has changed from his usual, Cascadia type drills and stuff they've been having. And he says, well, actually, I've been at least pulling guard duty a few times at Travis Air Force Base. And I don't know whether or not they have announced if they're quarantining people at Travis Air Force Base, but from the sounds of it, they are, or do have a quarantine facility there. And I said, well, have they told you anything like what to do, what to watch out for, anything like that? And he goes, they haven't told me a word except where to be and who to let in and who not to, and just work regular guard duty. And I said, so are you having to mask up, wear gear or nothing like that? And he goes, nope, they haven't said a word. I just know I'm there to keep people in, and people that are supposed to be in and people that are supposed to be out, keep them out. So, I mean, if I was working that same sort of thing, and I knew it was for quarantine purposes, I would want to know a little bit more about what precautions I should be taking. And that's just a thought, and it kind of goes with what Ed was saying, is they're not going to be forthright, not even with their own people. And I think we see that example happening even in China, except to a much more extreme measure, as we've all seen from the stuff that has slipped out.
Absolutely, Rip Curl. There's a big divide between what is being said to the actual employees and what is to the public, and then what is actually being said to the government, because even above them, they are getting something different. And we've known that because of our military group saying that this is absolutely much more serious than they say. Thank you for your call, Rip Curl. I appreciate you, and of course, you are one of my favorite people on here, so thank you so much. All right, now that time it did it. Okay, so Ed, finishing out, please let me know what you think should happen now. I mean, just to sum up.
Well, my biggest thing, like I said, what I tell people is this, and this is, you prepare for the worst and you hope for the best. I'm a big believer in that, because like I said, like just what he was saying in the conversation, there's way too many unknowns with this whole virus, way too many unknowns. And we are not being given the full information on this, which I find very disturbing. Okay. So, again, I've encouraged people that follow my channel, don't panic. Panic is not a productive thing in any way, shape, or form. It's okay to be afraid, as long as you use that fear in a positive way. Again, I very much encourage people to prepare to shelter in place. Go out and get your comfort foods, whatever you enjoy eating or drinking, be it alcoholic beverages, pop, whatever it may be, whatever you like, get those things in place. Get water, make sure you have, fruit juices, whatever you want to have there on hand. Make sure you have plenty of food. Be prepared to shelter in place between 4 weeks and 8 weeks if you have to. And I know that sounds kind of crazy, but I think it's really important. And the other part of sheltering in place that I would encourage people to do, get yourself a 5-gallon bucket, get yourself contractor garbage bags, which they sell at Lowe's. They sell them also at I'm going blank on Home Depot is another place. Get those because they're more sturdy. They're really good. Use that as a toilet if you have to. If there's a problem, like you were talking about in the apartment complexes, the toilets backing up, be able to prepare for your own sanitation if you have to. I think that's really important as well. Get your meds, get things that you can now before the hordes hit the stores. Because if this thing takes off in the United States, which I believe that it will, it's going to be bedlam out there. And you don't want to be out there at that point. So if you're going to go shopping, either go first thing in the morning when it's not busy or go later at night. A lot of stores are open 24 hours a day. Go when there's nobody there. That's the best time to go shopping and get the things that you need. So that would be my advice to everybody. I appreciate you having me on the show. Thank you very much for that. I enjoyed interacting with the people. Great questions that people had tonight. So thank you for everybody for the fantastic questions as well.
Absolutely, Ed. You're welcome on my show anytime. And like I said, if you have a free day next week, I would love to check back in. I guarantee you we're going to see a big kind of reveal too. By next week, we should see a huge number jump again. I'll just go ahead and predict that. Or we will see some miracle happen and it will just be wiped away. So, Ed, thank you so much for coming on. Thank you for spending your valuable time with us. And thank you for your valuable information. And again, if you didn't get a question across to Ed, you can, of course, go to marfooglenews.com. His links will be there. Of course, you can always search Prepper Nurse 1 in YouTube, and you'll find his channel's heading towards 100,000 subscribers. So he's definitely a busy guy. So if you want to get a question through him, too, hopefully next week we can set out a time and then go back over this and see what's going on.
If you want to make it next Thursday, we could plan on doing next Thursday. That would work for me, no problem at all.
Okay, I'm down with that. Let's do it. So
okay.
Next Thursday, let's check back in on this this event, and let's do it. Okay.
Sounds great.
All right. Thank you so much, Ed, and you have a wonderful night. Appreciate you, and thanks. Dex,
thank you very much.
Dex, are you there?
Hello, Adam. I am here. And Ed, thank you very much for being here for myself too.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
And it was fantastic to hear everything you had to share.
Do you have
like I said, again, thank you for having me on. I appreciate it. Like I said, one of the things I say on my channel, which I think people really lose sight of a lot of times, is we are all in this together. I think that's really important that people realize that. You're never alone. We are all in this together. That's important for people to remember.
Dex, do you have any questions for Ed before we go?
I think that it's not much a question. Just I love the statement you had about reminding people to be clean and when they're out in public. And one of the things I started to research was all of the locations that we may take for granted that are actually very dirty, and we need to think about when we are in public or when we are out in places. We've talked about them before, like the kiosks that you touch in stores where everyone else has touched, right? Like I think we did a report on the Mickey D's touch screens and how dirty they were. Things like that. Like we need to really, go that extra. Think about it a lot more than just washing your hands. You've got to start to be cognizant of what you're touching, where you're touching. I mean, having your own pen instead of going up to the counter and using the pen that's there for you to sign in or to do whatever, right? Like get in the habit of carrying a pen. Get in the habit of keeping a pen in your purse. Things like that. There's a lot of things that we can do and change that will help prevent us from spreading germs, especially these bad ones that are causing the problems right now.
Ed, did you hear that?
I did hear that. Yep. And that's great advice. Especially, I like the fact that you were saying carry a pen, because you think about, like, if you are paying with your credit card for something and you have to sign, the receipt, how many other people have touched that pen before you have? And you have no idea what's going on with any of them. So I think that's great advice right there. Absolutely wonderful advice.
Yeah, Ed, it's interesting. I pulled a list while you were talking earlier, and this is the list of some of the most dirtiest public things in the public that we deal with on a daily basis. A doorknob, which I would expect, but vending machine buttons, parking meters, The crosswalk button. When you're in a city and you're pressing that crosswalk button, you and 1,000 people have touched it, and I promise you, it's never, ever, ever getting cleaned. Right? The ATM buttons. We go to ATMs all the time, and we have to touch the buttons to get money out. And of course, money is filthy. And you would think the toilet is dirty, of course, in the public place, but it's not as bad as the actual handle on the door to get in and out of the toilet, or the handle on the sink that you got to touch to turn on and off the water, right? Light switches, elevator buttons, the self-checkout at the supermarket, even the gas pump handles. We all touch and grab gas pump handles every day or every time we fill up, right? So things like that, the escalator rails, the shopping carts, which you mentioned earlier, grabbing those wipes. I mean, I've gotten really good about always grabbing the wipe and cleaning off the shopping cart before I use it. And then, of course, public playground equipment. Kids are running around on that all the time. So anyway, that was my list I came up with. I was looking through some of the different dirtiest things in public places, and it's probably good to get that information out. And thanks again, Ed.
Well, and again, thank you. And that's a great list, and you're 100% right. A lot of the things people do not think about. And just like you said, ATMs. We go to ATMs all the time. And so people do not think about that. And again, money is like handled by how many people? You have no idea. So again, those are things to absolutely think about. Having hand sanitizer on you all the time. I know some people that have a little bottle that they keep with them. Some ladies that keep it right in their purse. Very, very smart thing to do.
Well, I want to thank you both. Thank you, Dex, for helping in the behind the scenes too, because this whole thing, it took us an hour to get on live, which we're also going to try to get this on YouTube very soon. So I love having you guys all in the same room. Thank you guys so much. I have to make a quick announcement. Thank you again, Ed. I appreciate you. And then I'm going to cut both of us. So right now, I have an announcement to make. So a lot of people don't understand this doesn't apply to YouTube, but when I do host somebody, understand that this platform is extreme free speech. Usually I'm going to host somebody different every day. Usually we don't have much time to choose. It depends on who's live. But also, after the show's over, you don't have to continue watching. You can just cut out. There was someone who used the Lord's name in vain several times because they were excited. They had all these people come in. That's not great in my book. But again, I'm not responsible for the stuff said afterwards, but do understand that we can't just judge people right away. That person in particular was just getting absolutely mauled by people because of the suicide of his brother. So you just don't know people's stories, like they might have something behind. I just, people scream free speech all day, every day, but when they hear it, they're offended. I understand that everybody wants free speech to be free speech, except for the stuff that they don't want to hear. But again, I think that we've all come from different places. As far as saying that's where I kind of cut the line too. So again, that's why I ended up changing it after a minute there, because I didn't know. But we're gonna end up going over to the Ugly Jew. Don't let the name fool you. He covers topics similar to ours. Again, it's free speech over here, so kind of anything goes except for nudity and things like that. We try to host someone different so we can bring somebody unique. I love all of you guys. If you don't like it after the shoutro, then make sure to just tune out. You don't have to tune into whoever's next. But I think the Ugly Jew, I almost said the Naked Jew. Ugly Jew actually has a very calm demeanor, and he's somebody I'm not afraid of hosting. He's not very controversial, but he is very smart. So, all right, and then Ed, you guys, love you very much so, and yeah. We will definitely see you guys later. Just got a whole mess of codes. And boom. All right. Love you guys. Have a good night. We've got something to say. It's all about the outro. Gotta go back now. It's about the White Panther. Yes, you know that we've got that hopping, singing, that one more mile. Every time that we go with the Shoot 91 Nash and XCS, with that snafu snaps, and you know that we never get that best. The one more mom and the old best with the WWS, that's West, and I'm about to drop with that nausea 9. I wanna drop with that nausea 9, nausea 9, nausea 9. Thank you all for coming, and remember, you can make everything happen if you wanted to. Go to marfooglenews.com to see any of the articles we covered here today, including all of this with the special guest. All of the information is there. Spud Ruckus and that Shoe 91. You've got the Mansatter and they do it all. Scott from Ozzy and the rest of the Kevin Fugel fans. A Trinity, a red or blue Bill man. And it looks like the GT and the mama is on the top. I will commit the frog here is always gonna be wrong. All right, we are definitely going to be hitting up, of course, Mr. Baby Yoda. Thank you for your supporter. Supporter? I think that's what it goes. No, not it. I see the luckiest people in the room haven't left. It was the lovely Stotts and the Daggeran. You've got the truth factor and then jam. Snafu snaps and the Hopkinson are always the best. You've got the gem you live for, being that top of woe. That Cab 7 band is my friend too. GT476, thank you. Lisa K23 and that Darrogan. Gotta talk about all of my friends. Thanks for your support and thank you all for men's. Baby Yoda, baby Yoda, baby Yoda, thank you. Liz up 49 and Colleen Lucas. Wilson, gonna go down to that number 9. The Who Flung Dong and the Jessica Harrison all the time. Vernon Turner and Aaliyah, thanks for your support. So Speaks and that John Raxness, April Osborne. You've got to rest and you've got to check with everyone before you do what you need to do, and I've got that buried before. A J.R. Pearhorse, thanks for supporting us all the way through. Hey, thanks Rhonda D, and thank you, Watcher 2. Trinity Red or Blue Pill, couldn't do it without you. A Pole Shift and the Serenity PA, I love you. VA Power for Life, Jim and that J-Bird. Gonna go bring it back round, gonna bring it back round. Never do anything else but you. Yabba dabba sexy, thank you for coming. Hey, what's up, Muscle Whisperer and Betty Sue, Trinity Red or Blue Pill, thank you. Sue Speaks, you are awesome, and Baby Yoda, I've got a song for you. Seriously though, Baby Yoda, Ilea, Susan Donahue, you guys are all my crew. Hey, my family, we've got the peace within. Hey, April Osborne, #1. Gotta go back and see the fun that we were having before we found each other. I don't know where we've gone. I just wanna be all the way down with my Marfoogle family. Gotta go say, oh yeah. Hey, Excelation from the top of the head, Phil Billy from YouTube, Paul Revere 11 and YouTube GT476. Hey, top contributors of the show, Jimmy Lynn, thank you. Hey, Baby Yoda, hey, Baby Yoda, hey, Baby Yoda. Hey, Baby Yoda, hey, Baby Yoda, hey, Baby Yoda, da.
I just want to have fun. A Trinity red or blue play. Snap it, and I play the rest of this. You read the one more mile. In the go way, yeah, we enjoy 'em. I'm gonna go back to the little people that I have to love. A baby Yoda in a little 49 in a little king calling room side. Gonna bring it down and you're gonna bring it on. Yes, you know the name. Hey, just a time, everything. Bring it right down and you know they ain't done. You're not that hawker, you're not that law. You gotta be on full kind of bar. When you're right back with the kitty cat called Treen Noir. When you're with the Jeff Woodward, gonna bring that boy foot wide. Gonna do it all day, gonna do it all day, gonna do it all day with class. It's much better to create than to hate.
Dum 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 Absolutely love all of you guys. I'm going to be making tomorrow's stuff tonight. Might be going on later tonight on Just D Live. So I'll see you live in chat and YouTube. Thank you guys. Much love. Be safe. Be prepared. Go to marfooglenews.com to join Discord. Thank you. Good night.